All right. What's going on, fam? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Had to redo that. Had to change some settings. Man, it's been a minute. I hope everybody's doing well. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Marvin Richardson Jr. I am the founder of Becoming One. The purpose of Becoming One is to help people with love, life, relationships, becoming one with Him, in Him, with us for all. If you look at some of my previous videos, I kind of break all of that down and you can kind of get a gist of what it is that I'm talking about in this particular space. Now, I know I'm not the only one talking about relationships, um, which is fine because I think one plants, one waters, God has the increase. I am talking from a Christian perspective, and I'm also talking from my personal experience in some situations, in other people's experience in other situations, and a little bit of biblical experiences as well. And so, if you haven't subscribed, I ask that you would share this. If you think this content is good, if there's something in there you like, man, that was really good, feel free to share with somebody. A lot of times it is just for you, but sometimes it does help to pass it on to somebody else. And as you do that, this page will grow, more people will come, and more people will be reached with whatever God gives me to talk about. So, without further ado, let's just go ahead and get right into it. Um, called this timing and transitions. It's obvious that we are all, one second. Okay. It's obvious that we all go through different time transitions, whether it's in relationships, whether it's jobs. There's always something going on. You're always kind of shifting from and to. I'll speak more on that later, but there's always kind of this from here to there. And that's very necessary in everything that we do in life. You don't go from first grade to first grade, you go from first grade to second grade, you go from freshman to sophomore to junior to senior. It's been a minute since I've been in college, but those are all transitions and they all require timing. Let me ask you this. Have you ever heard of the term timing is everything? I've heard about it. Usually when you hear somebody say timing is everything, what they're meaning is that you either need to be on time or in time. And so because the timing of which something is done, or how something is done within timing means a lot. When you take tests, there's usually a time limit. When you have reports due, there's usually a time that it needs to be brought in. When you are going from home to your place of work, you don't disappear. You just have to go through the transition of time. So hear that, time and transitions. Right. So, but why is that? Because timing has a tempo, timing has a pace, timing has a duration, as we just explained it. Timing has um, a means by which it is measured. Timing is also something that can either work for you or it can work against you. You can sometimes have too much time and you can sometimes not have enough time. About a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, I had to go to work out of state because I travel. And I thought I had enough time. I actually miscalculated my time. I'm looking at my watch. I'm thinking, okay, it's going to take X amount of time for me to get to where I need to get. And then from that, I looked at my watch. And when I pulled up on my Waze app, it said it was going to take me an hour. I was like, what? An hour? This normally takes about 35 minutes for me to get to where I need to get to. But because I wasn't aware of the timing, then my transition from here to the airport was going to take longer. And trust me, I made the flight, but I'm telling you, I had to bolt. I mean, that would not have been the day for a cop to been out because I would have got a ticket for sure. And it probably would have been a heavy ticket. Not only that, when I finally got parked, if you were on the phone talking to me, you would have heard, you would have thought I was a skateboarder because I'm literally running with my carry on, rolling it, and it's just all you can hear is the wheel spinning. That's how fast I was going because I just didn't have enough time. And so sometimes you don't have enough of it, but time doesn't stop, but it does have moments within each of the realm of our time. There's moments. There's a moment of when you wake up. There's a moment you go from the bedroom to the bathroom. You brush your teeth. Hopefully, you clean up, take a shower. You get dressed. You get ready to go to work. This timing, right? That's a moment. You go from moment to moment to moment. Timing just is. Timing just is. Um, I remember the first watch that I ever received when I was a kid. It was a Casio keyboard watch, and it had the little buttons on the side. You can actually put phone numbers in. I was just going around asking people for their phone numbers because I just wanted to have it. What's your number? What's your number? I used to do that. I actually had two of them. Loved it. I could do calculations on it, the whole 9 yards. I was a little geek growing up. I still am to some degree. Just not as geeky as my sons, who are they're some really smart kids. But that's beside the point. Timing just is. You're going to have to deal with it whether you want to or not. How does this relate to becoming one? How does this relate to in him with us for all? Well, in him, if you're not in time with him, then you don't be on time with him. If he's not with us, then when he needs you to be somewhere, do something, and you're not with him, then you don't actually reap whatever the next is. For all, meaning that your timing affects everything else. It's just like a domino effect. Once you hit that one domino and it goes and hits the next domino, the next domino, the next domino, there's a timing by which, as those dominoes are falling from the first domino to the last domino, unless there's something that interrupts it, it's going to fall. So, whoever that was for, just remember that. Timing has birth and death to it, right? There's birth, death, or sometimes when you look at someone's tombstone, there's two dates, and in between those two dates is what they call the dash. And so, birth and death, one date to the next date, between those two dates is the realm of time. And how we utilize that really matters how we live in this thing out. Is anybody going to live it out perfect? No. No, nobody's going to live it perfect, but you do have to remember that your time is not yours to create. You just have what you have. We all have 24 hours in a day. How you utilize it is entirely up to you. I remember when I just came out of college and I was working on a project in Atlanta, this guy was like, Marvin, you don't do nothing but walk around with a clipboard. I was like, well, I can walk around with a clipboard because I invested time doing something different the past 6 years. I said, so, and I wasn't being smart about it. I was just like, well, for the past 6 years, I kind of been pushing. I was in school full time. I worked full time. I drove Uber. I did all kinds of things because I had to utilize my time to the best of my ability. And this is why it has afforded me to be able to the ability to be able to walk with a clipboard and watch you guys do work. You know, you work hard in one season, so you don't have to work as hard in another season. And so now the kind of work I do now is just more mental stress than physical labor. I'm not the kind of person that won't do physical labor, but I just would rather use my brain than anything else. And so, and now as a content creator, I'm utilizing my brain to share some insight and hopefully it will be helpful to you. All right. What else? So, so not to be preachy, but the Bible does talk about this passage in the scripture where it talks about in Ecclesiastes, it says there is a time um, to everything. There is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to pluck. What is planted, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to break down, a time to build up, a time to weep, and so on and so on and so on and so on. So just read it. It's good. The point they're trying to make is that there's a time for everything. And as long as you're able to determine and recognize the timing that you're in, you can move accordingly. And if we recognize the time, then we will move accordingly. And if you don't, then sometimes moves will be made upon you. Okay. Timing does has expectations. I mean, I mentioned it earlier. There are due dates, with the pregnancy. When a woman gets pregnant, one of the things people ask is, when are you due? Because they know that within a 9-month time frame, they're expecting a baby to be born. And so there's a due date, but timing also had rhythm. For your musical people out there, you understand that there's a beat and there's sometimes a beat within the beat. And for those who can read sheet music, there's a treble clef is usually on the top part of the sheet, and then there's a bass clef, which usually on the lower part. The bass clef carries the foundational beat of it. It's like if there's a beat, that's bass clef. Now, the more advanced you get, the more advanced those beats are. But the treble clef handles more so the melody. And so you hear the beat and the melody above that. I'm not a singer, so I'm not about to try to sing on the phone. I mean, on this YouTube live. So, um, but in any case, treble clef, bass clef, understanding those things in the realm of time will allow you to play your instrument within the time frame given for that particular body of music. So, what does that have to do with me, my relationship, becoming one or not? Well, just stay tuned. We got more to come. Transitions. Let's talk about transitions. So dictionary speaks to transition, saying that it's changing from one state or condition to another. I mean, you can get a whole bunch out of that, but let's just go with what I'm trying to say tonight. A transition is from and to, basically, right? You think about, you remember in Christmas time when you had the Christmas under the trees, the way that you were able to tell which present belonged to you, you had to look at the box, and usually there's a label. And on that label, it'll say from and to. Interesting that they put something that is meant to be a transition from A to B on the present that goes from me to you. And so, interesting enough, a transition is not just going from A to B, but it is also something that you can possess or something that can be given to you. You can be given a present and this transition from someone to you. I hope this is making sense to you. Transitions take you from point A to point B, right? Transitions have a beginning and ending, or the reverse. Sometimes something ends in order for something to begin. Usually they say anytime somebody passes away, somebody's being born. So the question, oh, I'm sorry, there's one other point. A transition has a now and a later location. Okay. So you can be in one spot and you could have gone from here to South Africa in your mind, because you've transitioned mentally from one place to the next. You know, sometimes a person say, "What are you thinking about?" Or "Where are you?" Because it just seems like you just may be like somewhere else. You could just be hanging with your friends and just be like, they'd be like, "Yo, Marv, huh?" They're like, "Man, where'd you go?" Sorry, man. I was at work. I was thinking about A, B, C, D, and E, and contractors and all that kind of stuff. Because that's normal. That's normal with me. There are times where my mind will think about something and then I have to actually think about, okay, what do I need to do about that? Because I need to come up with an answer. And sometimes you don't get the answer the moment that you need it. You get the answer the moment when it needs it. Not so much when you want it, but sometimes when it needs it. If you can catch that, you can keep it. So, question for you. What is your now position and where is your later location? Where are you at now? And where are you trying to go, right? Even during hard transitions, timing and transition is happening concurrently. What does that mean, concurrently? That means it's happening at the same time. And so in the construction world, we talk about activities that happen, whether you're painting a wall, doing some electricity installs. And sometimes these activities are happening concurrently. They're happening at the same time. Sometimes they're not happening at the same time. And so even hard transitions, you can have concurrent things happening. How do I know? Here, let me tell you. You can have a transition that is happening concurrently because you're having your pain and your promotion. You can be in pain and be being elevated for promotion at the very same time. You just don't realize it. You can have a loss and receive a gain at the very same time. You can have a death in something, but also something can also be born. And so these things are happening concurrently. And although they don't feel good, it's actually for your good. Interesting enough, because it does say that all things work together for the good, even when you don't see it. Trust me, fam. There's some things I'm just like, I don't see how this is working for my good. And I almost have an attitude face about it. I just be like, man, I don't see how this is working out for my good. I'm just whatever, you know. But you have to look beyond the emotions of it and how you are showing up and just decide that, okay, I don't see how this is going to work, but he does. Time and transition is purpose for you. Time and transition is purpose to break you and to build you. You may be broken, but you're also being built. If you think about the potter and the potter's wheel and the clay, you think about clay itself. You have clay, it looks like a moldy mush. It's actually molded into a shape, and then it's actually put into an oven to harden. And then it's, maybe decorated, painted, or whatever. But the potter decides, I want to do something different with it. So what will he do? He will actually take that pottery and break it to rebuild it into something else. Excuse me. So being broken to be built is necessary in order for you to go forward, in order for you to grow forward, in order for you to do forward. Grow forward, go forward, do forward. Write that down. So who am I talking to? Who am I talking to? Who am I talking to? If I'm talking to you in the chats when you watch this replay, say that was me, Marv. Like, yeah, bro, you was talking to me. I mean, like, how did you even know that? But I mean, I didn't know that. God told me to say it. But time in transition is meant to also allow confusion so that you can also have clarity. If this is not my life, it is my life, because I've gone through a season and sometimes I'm just like, man, what in the world? I I don't even know how to explain this one. There's a level of confusion. Now, God is not the author of confusion, right? He's not. He doesn't offer that, but he will allow certain things to happen so that once you get a level of clarity, you just know that you know that you know that you know that you know, no, 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 no. That's what the old church folks used to say. I gotta know that I know that I know. So I started taking that and using that to myself. Yeah, I just need to know that I know so that I can't even be convinced otherwise. There's a saying that says, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. You don't want to be so convinced. If a person has convinced you and you really didn't believe it, that means that they've convinced you against your will. But in your mind, you still have the same opinion. If I said to you, this shirt is blue, and I made you believe that this shirt was blue, I'm forcing you to believe that it's blue. You'd be like, okay, it's blue, red. Okay, you said it's blue. Yeah, sure, it's red. But in your mind, you would say, man, that shirt is not blue, it is red. That is what being convinced against your will is like. Somebody tries to convince you or manipulate you against your will to believe a narrative that they want you to believe, but it's not true. And trust what's going on inside of your spirit. You know that there's something off about it. So no, do not believe it. Do not go along to get along. Get off to go on. I'll say it again. Get off to go on. Because going on will bring you to places and spaces that going with the crowd is not going to get you there anyway. That wasn't even in my notes, but that's for whomever. So time in transition is also the recipe for next. I'm almost done. Time in transition is the recipe for your next. NEXT, or NE times T, right? New experiences times triumphs. Or in other words, time in transition, T.N.T, dynamite, right? It's an explosive. What is your ticking time bomb that you are sitting on? What is the ticking time bomb that's waiting to be released? And so we're not just going through all this hell and high water just for nothing. We're not going through long suffering and different things in this life just for nothing. It is actually building a resolve. It's building something inside of you, and it's like a ticking time bomb. And it's almost like when you see those bombs that have the wick on the side, and as soon as they light it, it starts to make little sparkly. It starts to sparkle until it all the way gets to the end of that ball. And once you know it goes inside of that ball, boom. So what is that baking inside of you? What is that inside of you that's incubating, that's ready to just bust open and be like, boom, here it is. Because the breaking is building you so that when it explodes, it's not going to explode false. It's not going to prove wrong. It's not going to stutter. It's going to say what it needs to be said. It's going to compute, calculate, and figure out what the next step is. And it's going to be seamless. You're not even going to have to think about it. So, what is a ticking time bomb? And then when it blows up, so let it. So let it. Let your light so shine so that all men can see your good works. Don't hide it. Don't be like the person in the parable of the talents where he takes his talent and he tries to hide it. No, show it. Show it. The world needs to see it. Somebody's waiting on you. That's how you become one with him. You let your light so shine among men so that they can all see your good works. There's something good going on inside of you, even in the face of what you may have gone through tragically. If you had a bad breakup, if you had a divorce, if you're going through in your marriage, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Get busy at what you need to be getting busy at, not trying to change what you cannot change. You can't change him. You can't change her. You can't change your child. You can't change them. You can't change him, her, or them. Coworkers included. You can't change them. So let yourself be changed in the process. And when you do that, you recognize that your response is different. You know what I'm saying? Your response will be completely different. You'll be wondering, who is this person? Normally, I would have just straight stole them in the jaw, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to respond differently. And what you will realize is you gain power and strength and wisdom as a result of you being silent when you wanted to not be silent. The Bible says that he who controls his anger is stronger than one that takes over a city. I've had to practice that over and over again many times. I've been on conference calls and I wanted to go clear off, but I can't. I have to control that. Because here's the thing, here's a cheat code. When you control that, you're actually gaining access in other rooms and other spaces and places. Because you're able to maintain your composure, then it gives you authority in other moments in your future. If you can maintain your pissed offness now, then when you speak in your future, there will be authority that comes with that. And those that are in your hearing will listen because you have the influence and the backing. But if you are hothead and you want to blow up, then you can't be trusted. You'll be looked at as a loose cannon. Who am I talking to? Don't be a loose cannon. So each day is a gift. That's why they call it the present. Think about it. Gift, present, same thing. So you may have to make some moves, right? You may have to make some moves. So make your moves, but utilize the timing and the transitions to move accordingly. And just like that analogy with the Christmas tree present, your daily present comes from God. When it said from, and it said from, and you normally will look and it would be your parent, your aunt. This one is from God. This present is from God to you, from him to you. So utilize it. Time and transitions is your T.N.T. It is the explosive agent that is used to propel you forward. And sometimes things need to explode. Do you understand that when they take explosive devices and they put it inside a rock, it's because somebody had a vision that what I see in this area does not require this amount of dirt, this amount of rock to be here. I actually see this dirt over here, actually over there. So they have to go in and put T.N.T. and dynamite and blast it out because there's no machinery that's strong enough to you to move it out of place. So they go in and they blast it. If you are the bomb that needs to be sent somewhere to blast so that something else can be put in this place, then you have to be that. That is what God does when he takes somebody from obscurity to becoming a household name. He takes them somewhere, drops them, and boom, they're like, what in the world happened? And all they see that appears at the end of that is you. So go and be the bomb. Go and be the bomb. It's brewing inside of you anyway. Go ahead and allow the time and the transition to put you where you need to be so you can blow up. So let it. So let it blow up. All right. So I hope that that was helpful for you. Again, my name is Marv Richardson. This is Becoming One in Him with us for all. If you become one with Him, He'll put you in places to blow you up so that you can be where you're supposed to be. All right. God bless y'all. Good night.